In the pouring Seoul rain, a crime boss finds the woman he loves broken on the asphalt. Her whispered words, "You did," shatter his world more completely than any rival's bullet ever could. He thought he was saving her. He was actually saving himself. Before the sun rises, he has to choose: the empire built on blood, or the impossible love that demands it all burn down for the sake of one devastating truth. If you want to witness how one secret can destroy an entire empire by morning, hit the subscribe button. Don't miss this complete story of power, pain, and the most dramatic redemption arc you'll see all year. The rain hit the pavement like bullets, each drop exploding against the Seoul asphalt with violent precision. Seo-Jun Kong's black Mercedes cut through the storm, windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against the downpour. His phone had buzzed 20 minutes ago with coordinates and nothing else. No name, no explanation. Just a location pin dropped in the most abandoned corner of Gangnam, where even rats knew better than to venture after dark. His driver pulled up to the curb, headlights cutting through sheets of rain. That's when Seo-Jun saw her. A body, crumpled on the sidewalk like discarded trash, rain washing rivers of red down the gutter. "Stay in the car," Seo-Jun ordered, his voice cold enough to frost glass. He stepped out into the storm, his $1,000 suit instantly soaked, clinging to his frame as he approached. The woman lay face down, dark hair plastered across pale skin, one arm twisted at an unnatural angle. Blood pooled beneath her, mixing with rainwater, creating patterns that looked almost artistic in their horror. Seo-Jun knelt beside her, his hand reaching for her neck to check for a pulse. The moment his fingers touched her skin, her eyes snapped open. Those eyes. He knew those eyes. "Eun-Soo?" His voice cracked, something that hadn't happened in 15 years. Not since his father's funeral. Not since he'd learned that showing weakness meant death in his world. Her lips parted, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. She tried to speak, and he leaned closer, his ear inches from her face. "Who did this to you?" The words tore from his throat, raw and desperate. "Who? Tell me their name, and they're dead before sunrise." Her hand lifted, trembling, fingers brushing against his cheek. The touch was soft, almost tender, and it sent ice through his veins because he knew that touch. He'd memorized it over the past 6 months, every gentle caress, every innocent gesture that had slowly dismantled the walls he'd spent a lifetime building. "You did," she whispered, and the words hung in the air between them like a death sentence. Then her eyes rolled back and her body went limp in his arms. "No, no, no, no." Seo-Jun scooped her up, cradling her against his chest as he ran back to the car. "Drive, now, to Dr. Kim's clinic!" The Mercedes roared through the night, and Seo-Jun held Eun-Soo's broken body, his hands pressed against her wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. Her blood soaked through his shirt, warm and sticky, and his mind refused to process what she'd said. It couldn't be true. It was impossible. He would never hurt her. She was the only pure thing in his corrupted world, the only person who'd ever looked at him and seen something other than a monster. "Stay with me," he whispered against her hair. "Please. I don't know what you meant, but we'll figure it out. Just don't leave me." Dr. Kim met them at the door of his underground clinic, taking one look at Eun-Soo's condition and immediately barking orders to his staff. They whisked her away on a gurney, and Seo-Jun stood in the sterile hallway, dripping rainwater and blood onto white tiles, his hands shaking for the first time since he was a child. An hour passed, then 2. Seo-Jun paced like a caged animal, his mind racing through every interaction they'd had, searching for clues, for meaning, for anything that would explain her words. He'd met her 6 months ago at an art gallery opening in Itaewon. She'd been standing in front of a painting of a dying sun, and something about the way she tilted her head, studying the crimson brushstrokes, had caught his attention. In his world, people cowered or schemed. They never just existed peacefully. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she'd said without turning around, somehow knowing he was there. The way the artist captured the exact moment between day and night, that brief second where anything is possible. I see death, Seo-Jun had replied, his voice flat. The death of light. She'd turned then, meeting his eyes without fear. Or the promise of a new beginning. It depends on whether you're afraid of the dark. Her name was Eun-Soo, she'd told him, an art dealer specializing in contemporary Korean artists. She had a small gallery in Samcheong-dong, and she moved through the world with a quietness that felt almost supernatural. She never asked about his work, never flinched when his phone rang with calls he had to take in private, never questioned the scars on his knuckles or the way his men treated him with terrified reverence. Over weeks, then months, she'd become his refuge. A stolen hour here, a quiet dinner there. She'd made him laugh, something he'd forgotten how to do. She'd touched his face with gentle fingers and told him he looked tired, that he should rest more, that money and power meant nothing if you couldn't enjoy a sunset. He'd started to believe that maybe, just maybe, he could have something normal, something good. Dr. Kim emerged from the surgical room, his face grim, mask pulled down to reveal pressed lips. She's stable, but barely. She has 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding that we've managed to stop for now, severe bruising consistent with repeated blunt force trauma, and traces of a sedative in her system. Torture, Seo-Jun said flatly. Yes, professional. Whoever did this wanted information. Dr. Kim paused, his eyes studying Seo-Jun's face. There's something else. Defensive wounds on her hands and forearms. She fought back hard against multiple attackers. How long until she wakes up? If she wakes up. Her body has been through tremendous trauma. The next few hours are critical. Seo-Jun pushed past the doctor and into the room where Eun-Soo lay hooked up to machines that beeped steadily, monitors displaying numbers that meant nothing to him, except that they represented her continued existence. He pulled a chair beside her bed and sat, reaching for her hand. Her fingers were cold, lifeless, and he wrapped both of his hands around them, trying to transfer his warmth to her. The silence in the room was suffocating, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor and the mechanical hiss of the ventilator. You did this. Her words echoed in his skull, refusing to be ignored. Seo-Jun closed his eyes and forced himself to think. To remember. 5 years ago, before he'd consolidated power, before he'd become untouchable, there had been a war. The Han family had controlled the southern territories, and his father had trusted them, considered Han Ji-woo a brother. Then came the betrayal. The Hans had sold information about his father's operations to the police, resulting in a raid that killed 12 of his men and nearly collapsed their entire syndicate. His father had ordered retaliation, but he died of a heart attack before he could execute it. The responsibility had fallen to Seo-Jun, barely 25, and drowning in grief and rage. He'd gathered every soldier, every gun, every ounce of violence he could command, and he'd descended on the Han compound like the wrath of God. The memory was vivid, painted in fire and blood. Screaming, gunshots, the smell of smoke and copper. He'd walked through those halls methodically, room by room, eliminating anyone connected to the Han name. Men, mostly. His father had taught him honor, even in brutality. Women and children were to be spared, given money, and sent away to start new lives far from Seoul. But in the chaos, in the smoke and confusion, people had died who weren't supposed to. Collateral damage. His men had gotten overzealous, trigger-happy, drunk on violence. By the time Seo-Jun had regained control, the Han family was extinct. Every member accounted for. Every grave marked, or so he'd thought. His phone buzzed. Min-ho, his second-in-command, calling at 3 in the morning. Seo-Jun answered without taking his eyes off Eun-Soo's face. We found something, Min-ho said, his voice tight. About the woman. Talk. I ran her prints through our system. She's not Eun-Soo Park, the art dealer from Samcheong-dong. That woman exists, but she's been living in Paris for the past 2 years. The woman you know stole her identity 6 months ago. Seo-Jun's jaw clenched. Who is she? A pause. Too long. Min-ho was afraid to answer, and Min-ho feared nothing except his boss's wrath. Her real name is Han Eun-Soo, daughter of Han Ji-woo. She was 17 when we hit the compound. Somehow she got out. The records say she died in the fire, but there was never a body. The phone slipped from Seo-Jun's hand, clattering on the tile floor. The room tilted, and he gripped the edge of Eun-Soo's bed to steady himself. Han Ji-woo's daughter. The man who'd betrayed his father. The family he'd destroyed. You did this. Now her words made perfect, terrible sense. Boss? Boss, are you there? Min-ho's tinny voice came from the phone on the floor. Seo-Jun picked it up, his movements mechanical. Find out who beat her. Who knew her real identity? I want names. Already on it. Boss, there's more. We caught Park Sung-min trying to flee the city an hour ago. He confessed to working with Mr. Choi. Choi? Seo-Jun's blood turned to ice. My advisor Choi? Yes, he's the one who's been feeding information to the Busan Syndicate. He knew about Han Eun-Soo's real identity. He's been using her to spy on you for months, promised he'd help her get close enough to kill you. But apparently, she stopped reporting to him 3 months ago. He thought she'd flipped, that she'd fallen for you. So he sent his men to extract her, to find out what you knew. The pieces fell into place with devastating clarity. Eun-Soo had come for revenge. She'd planned to kill him, to make him pay for destroying her family. But somewhere along the way, between art galleries and quiet dinners and sunset conversations, something had changed. She'd stopped seeing him as a target and started seeing him as a man. And that hesitation, that moment of humanity, had cost her everything. Where is Choi now? His apartment in Gangnam. We have it surrounded. Don't touch him. I'm coming. Seo-Jun stood, looking down at Eun-Soo's unconscious form. He leaned down and pressed his lips to her forehead, a gesture so gentle it felt foreign to him. I'm sorry, he whispered. For everything. For your family. For not seeing you. For not protecting you when it mattered. He paused, his throat tight. You came to kill me, and I don't blame you. I deserve it. But you didn't. You chose mercy when I never showed any. And that's why I'm going to burn down everyone who hurt you. Not because I'm a monster, but because even monsters can love. He left the clinic and climbed into his car, his face a mask of cold fury. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets slick and reflecting the city lights like broken mirrors. His men were waiting at Choi's building, a luxury high-rise in the heart of the city. They parted as Seo-Jun walked through, his footsteps echoing in the marble lobby. Choi was in his penthouse, packing a suitcase with shaking hands when Seo-Jun walked in. The older man froze, his face draining of color. Seo-Jun, I can explain. Explain? Seo-Jun's voice was soft, deadly. Explain how you betrayed my father? How you've been selling us out for years? How you tortured an innocent woman because she refused to be your puppet? She wasn't innocent! Choi's voice rose, desperate. She's a Han! She came here to kill you! But she didn't. Seo-Jun pulled his gun, the weight familiar in his hand. She could have put a bullet in my head 100 times. She knew my routines, my safe houses, my vulnerabilities. Instead, she protected me. From you. You're going to throw away everything for some girl? After everything I've done for this organization? Seo-Jun smiled, and it was the smile of a predator. You're right. I am throwing it all away. The drugs, the violence, the blood money, all of it. Because she showed me something I'd forgotten. That there's more to life than power. That redemption is possible, even for monsters like us. The gunshot echoed through the penthouse, a single sharp crack that ended decades of betrayal. Choi's body crumpled to the expensive carpet, his eyes wide with shock even in death. Seo-Jun holstered his weapon and walked out without looking back, his phone already pressed to his ear. Min-ho. I want every warehouse burned, every account emptied and distributed to the families of everyone we've hurt, every weapon melted down. By sunrise, I want the Kang Syndicate to be nothing but ash and memory. Boss, are you sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Do it. The drive back to the clinic felt longer than it should have. Dawn was approaching, painting the eastern sky in shades of pink and gold. Seo-Jun watched the sunrise through his windshield, and for the first time in years, he didn't see it as just another day of blood and power. He saw it the way Eun-Soo had described it that first night at the gallery. A promise. A new beginning. Dr. Kim met him at the door, his expression grave. She's awake. But Seo-Jun, you need to prepare yourself. What do you mean? Just go to her. She's been asking for you. Seo-Jun entered the room to find Eun-Soo's eyes open, staring at the ceiling. Her face was pale, bruised, but conscious. Alive. When she heard his footsteps, she turned her head slowly, and the look in her eyes made his heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. It wasn't hatred. It wasn't anger. It was something far worse. Sadness. Profound, bottomless sadness. You came back, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Of course I came back. He moved to her side, reaching for her hand, but she pulled it away weakly. The rejection stung more than any bullet ever had. Eun-Soo, I know everything. I know who you are, who your father was, what I did to your family. The words tumbled out, desperate, raw. And I know you came here to kill me. I don't blame you. I deserve it. I've deserved it for 5 years. A tear slid down her cheek. I had it all planned. Every step, every moment. I studied you for months before I ever walked into that gallery. I knew your schedule, your habits, your weaknesses. I had a gun hidden in my apartment, loaded, ready. All I had to do was invite you over one night and pull the trigger. Why didn't you? Because you cried. Her voice broke. 3 months ago, you fell asleep on my couch after a long day, and you had a nightmare. You were calling out for your father, apologizing, saying you were sorry for failing him. When you woke up, there were tears on your face, and you looked so lost, so broken. In that moment, I didn't see the man who destroyed my family. I saw someone who'd been destroyed too. Seo-Jun's vision blurred. Eun-Soo. I stopped reporting to Choi that night. I told him I needed more time, but the truth was I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't kill you because I'd fallen in love with you. She laughed, a bitter, painful sound. How twisted is that? I fell in love with the man who murdered my parents. I didn't know they were there, Seo-Jun said, his voice breaking. The fire, it wasn't supposed to spread that far. My men, they lost control. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. Your parents, they were in the West Wing. They weren't supposed to be there. They were supposed to have already evacuated. Does it matter? Eun-Soo's eyes met his. They're still dead. My little brother too. He was only 12. Did you know that? 12 years old, and he died choking on smoke because your war couldn't wait another day. The weight of her words crushed him. I'm sorry. God, Eun-Soo, I'm so sorry. Those words aren't enough. They'll never be enough. But I need you to know something. He knelt beside her bed, his hands gripping the railing. Choi is dead. The man who tortured you, who manipulated both of us, who used your pain as a weapon, he's gone. And the empire that killed your family? By sunrise it won't exist anymore. I'm burning it all down. Her eyes widened. What? Every warehouse, every operation, every blood-soaked dollar. I'm ending it. Because you were right that first night at the gallery. The sunset isn't just about death. It's about the possibility of something new, something better. You're destroying everything for me? No. Seo-Jun shook his head. I'm destroying it because it should have never existed in the first place. Because my father's empire was built on pain, and I've been adding to that pain for 5 years. Because I want to be worthy of the mercy you showed me. even though I don't deserve it." Eun-Soo reached up with a trembling hand and touched his face, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. "I wanted to hate you so much. I practiced it every day. But you know what the worst part is? Even knowing everything, even after all this pain, I still love you. And I hate myself for it." "Then hate me instead," Seo-Jun whispered. "Hate me for all of it. For your family, for your lost childhood, for every tear you've cried. But please, Eun-Soo, please don't leave me. Not yet. Let me spend whatever time we have left making amends. Let me try to become someone worthy of your forgiveness." She smiled, sad and beautiful. "Do you know what my mother used to tell me? She said that the measure of a person isn't in their mistakes, but in how they respond to them. She said that everyone deserves a chance at redemption. I don't deserve it. Neither do I. I was going to murder you in cold blood. I was going to become exactly what I hated." Her breathing was becoming labored, and Dr. Kim appeared in the doorway, concern etched on his face. But maybe that's the point. Maybe redemption isn't about deserving it. Maybe it's about choosing it, even when it seems impossible. "Eun-Soo, rest. Save your strength." "No." She gripped his hand with surprising force. "I need to tell you something. The night Choi's men took me, before they started hurting me, I managed to record a message. It's on my phone, in my apartment. You need to hear it." "What message?" "The truth. About who really ordered the attack on your father's men. About who betrayed him." She coughed, and blood flecked her lips. "It wasn't my father, Seo-Jun. He was framed, and I have proof." The world stopped. "What?" "My father was innocent. He loved your father like a brother. He would never have betrayed him. It was Choi. It was always Choi. He set up my father, knowing it would start a war. He wanted both families destroyed so he could take over. And we all played right into his hands." Seo-Jun felt like he was drowning. 5 years of guilt, of blood, of justified vengeance, all built on a lie. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because I only found out a week ago. I'd been investigating, trying to understand why my father would betray his best friend. It never made sense. And then I found Choi's old communications, hidden in encrypted files. He orchestrated everything." Her eyes were closing, exhaustion taking over. "I was going to tell you that night, the night he took me. I was going to show you everything and let you decide what to do with it. But he found out. He knew I'd discovered the truth." Dr. Kim rushed forward. "Her vitals are dropping. She needs rest immediately." But Seo-Jun couldn't move. He stared at Eun-Soo's face as consciousness began to slip away from her. "Then both our families were victims. Both of us were manipulated." "Yes," she breathed. "And now you have a choice. You can let this cycle of violence continue, or you can end it. You can choose to be better than what they made us." Her eyes closed, and the monitors began to beep frantically. Dr. Kim pushed Seo-Jun aside, calling for his staff. As they worked to stabilize her, Seo-Jun stood in the corner of the room, his mind reeling. Everything he'd believed, everything he'd built his identity on for 5 years, was a lie. His phone buzzed. Min-ho sending photos. The warehouses burning. The money being distributed. His empire crumbling in real time. And for the first time since his father's death, Seo-Jun felt something other than rage and guilt. He felt free. The sun had fully risen by the time Dr. Kim gave him the news. Eun-Soo was stable, but weak. She'd need weeks of recovery, maybe months. But she would live. Seo-Jun left the clinic and drove to her apartment, finding her phone where she'd said it would be. The recording was there, time-stamped from the night she disappeared. He listened to her voice, calm and clear, explaining everything. The evidence, the betrayal, the truth that had cost both their families everything. When he returned to the clinic, he found her awake again, watching the sunlight stream through the window. "I listened to it," he said simply. All of it. And? And you were right. About everything. About redemption. About choice. About the possibility of something new. He sat beside her, and this time, when he reached for her hand, she didn't pull away. I can't give you back your family. I can't undo the past 5 years. But I can promise you this. The man who walked into that Han compound full of rage and violence, he's dead. I buried him the moment I found you in the rain. Who are you now? She asked softly. I don't know yet, but I'd like to find out. With you, if you'll let me. Eun-Soo looked at him for a long moment, studying his face. Then she squeezed his hand gently. My mother also used to say that the brightest sunrises come after the darkest nights. Was she right? I guess we'll find out together. Outside the window, Seoul awakened to a new day. Somewhere in the city, the Kang Empire's ashes were still smoldering. Somewhere, families who'd been terrorized for years were waking up to freedom. And in a quiet clinic room, two people who'd been shaped by violence and loss chose something different. They chose forgiveness. They chose healing. They chose love. Because sometimes, the real punishment isn't death. It's living long enough to understand the pain you've caused. And sometimes, redemption isn't about being forgiven. It's about forgiving yourself enough to try again. By sunrise, everything had changed. The empire had fallen. The truth had been revealed. And two broken people had found something neither of them believed still existed in their dark world: hope. That was an incredible journey of betrayal, vengeance, and a sunrise that actually meant something. If you loved Seo-Jun and Eun-Soo's story of finding hope in the ashes of a crime empire, hit the subscribe button. We'll be here with more dramatic escapes, shocking twists, and perhaps slightly less blood on our expensive suits. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the video.